What's going on, everybody? This is the Daily Fantasy Show brought to you by DFO. It is Monday. You have Gatorade. It is Monday, December 11th. Yeah. hmm We have a 6-game slate tonight. It is the last day you can qualify for the Light the Lamp tomorrow. They run those tournaments every month on DraftKings, so if you win multiple tickets, you could save some. Okay. So, I hope you guys had a good weekend. Hopefully you won some money in NHL, NFL. But let's get right to this slate. We're going to go through it. If you have questions at the end, I will answer them. So, let's do it. Here. Got Avery in the mix today. Maybe he'll give you some of his plays. Yeah. So the first game of the night, we have the Washington Capitals traveling to Long Island to face the Islanders. It is going to be more than likely Braden Holtby against Yaroslav Halak. I feel like the Ovechkin line is going to be chalky tonight. Where's my boy? Where's my boy Testosterone? You playing Tom Wilson tonight or what? It's still Backstrom, Ovechkin, Tommy Wilson. Listen, I think they're in play tonight. I'm probably going to fade due to ownership. Also, for a 6-game slate, I think there are better plays tonight. Especially if they're going to be chalky, I'm probably going to avoid them tonight. Ovechkin's pricey. He's $8,000. Backstrom's up above $6,000 again. And my boy Tom Wilson, he's not my boy at all, but he's up to $3,800. I mean, that's still a fairly pricey line. They're going to see ownership because it is a shorter slate. I mean, there are some other chalky spots on the slate. There's Winnipeg, there's Pittsburgh, the Dallas Rangers game, the Healthy Ducks. But again, it is an early game. Both sides of this game are nice. So I could see ownership being there for the top line. Again, not one of my favorite plays tonight, but if you're on them because they've been rolling, I definitely would not blame you for continuing on that train. Okay. We're letting Avery down. There we go. So, I mean, really, for me, my interest is minimal on the Caps. Yeah, you can get it. The interest that I have in this game is on the Islanders side. I think both of the top two lines are in play. I really like using the Islanders top line at home. This is a kind of a tough matchup with Holtby in that, but they are still pretty poor defensively. I think, there's better spots for me than going to Islanders 1, spending $19,000 to do it. I think if you're going to spend around that, there's some better options, but they're definitely up there on this slate for me. I think they may go overlooked a tad. Washington's a perceived tough matchup, and maybe they are getting a little bit better. Maybe they are getting a little bit tougher. But for me, I still really like using the top line. Tavares, Lee, and Bailey. They are a tad expensive, a little bit over 19 a full stack. Also, the second line definitely in play. They're going to see secondary matchups for Washington, and that is definitely favoring the Islanders there. Barzal, Eberle, and Ladd. Ladd is super cheap, $3,400. I mean, a lot of people leave him off and just kind of mini that. And you can do that. I wish, maybe they move up Hosang or they move up Brock Nelson, but, Ladd's not, a terrible player by any stretch. On the blue line for the Islanders, Boychuk is day-to-day. I'm not sure he's going to play tonight. Nicoletti's down to 5,600. It's still kind of pricey, but if you can fit him, you can use him. Calvin DeHaan, Adam Pelech, and Ryan Pulak would be the punt plays for me on the Islanders. On the Caps, again, John Carlson, 6,200 if you could fit him if you're using the Caps. I'm sure all you Tom Wilson users will have the cap space. Otherwise, Matty Niskanen, 3,900 is not bad, and you can punt with Orlov as well at 3,300. Even though I don't have too much interest in the Caps, using Yaroslav Halak is a risky proposition. If you are using the Islanders, I think you can correlate that with Halak and GPPs. He is cheap. It does worry me. I feel like this game could get out of hand a little bit, like a 4-3 type of game. So for that reason, I'm going to proceed with caution with Halak. On the flip side, Braden Holtby at 7,900 is a little pricey, facing a really good offensive team, especially at home. Using the Caps, obviously, it makes sense. Holtby is one of the best goalies in the NHL. But again, the defense does let Holtby down more often than not. And so I'd also proceed with caution with Holtby in GPPs. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Dallas Stars traveling to the Rangers, or to New York to face the Rangers. It is a battle of the backups. It's going to be Andrei Pavlik against Kari Lehtinen. That's just not pretty. Mika Zibanejad is still out, I believe. I haven't seen anything. I know he dyed his hair, and AV, made a remark about it. I think he's skating, but I still believe he is out tonight. Excuse me. I have to sneeze. Think about watermelons, still go away. Okay. So, the top line for Dallas is still Sagan, Ben, and Devin Shore. The second line is Jason Spezza, Matthias Janmark, and Alexander Radulov. I think the top line for Dallas is definitely in play. Even with Devin Shore, I think it brings down the price a little bit, which is nice. The Rangers have Pavlik in net. There's that notion that the Rangers play better in front of their backup, and I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if they play different or not. Pavlik isn't a very good goalie, but he is serviceable. He will give up a couple goals. He'll probably give up 2 or 3 goals. Whether he wins or not, I don't know. I really like, say again, Ben Klingberg, if you can fit it. Also, a contrarian way to this game that I also like is the second line. Spezza is 3,500. Matthias Janmark is 3,300. Radulov, you get power play 1 exposure at 5,900. They're a little under 13,000 to full stack. Spezza and Janmark are on power play 2. They're really cheap. Let you get in whatever you want. I think that is a decent way to get exposure to this game, considering how bad the Rangers can be defensively, especially down the middle with Zibanejad out. If you can fit Klingberg, I'd do it. I think you definitely can use Spezza and Radulov tonight, yeah. The thing that does concern me about Spezza is his time on the ice. He's only averaging 14, 15 minutes a night, but at his price at $3,500 for his talent, I think, if he can take advantage of it pretty quick. Janmark is 3,300. He's the cheapest of the line. He has been seeing the most minutes because he does penalty kill, I believe, as well. He's been seeing 17, 18 minutes. But, for the price, it's worth the shot. Radulov's going to see the time on the ice, and he has the power play 1 time. If you can't fit Klingberg, Esa Lindell is not bad at 3,700. Also, Steven Johns is a decent punt at 3,000. On the Rangers side, until Zibanejad's back, I'm not pumped about the Rangers. I've been, going to the third line, and I think that is the line to use. JT Miller, Michael Grabner, Matt Zuccarello. I think that is the Rangers line of choice for me until Zibanejad comes out. This is a decent spot. with Kari Lehtinen in net. But, you know, I'm not overly thrilled with the Rangers as a whole right now. But for me, it's going to be Rangers 3. Otherwise, I'll use a mini of Kevin Hayes and Rick Nash. And that's really about it. The top line doesn't really interest me with Davey on it. On the blue line, you know, Shattenkirk's price continues to drop. You know, he's kind of like, he needs to accrue points on the power play where his upside's kind of limited. I know he has the periffs. He does shoot a lot at even strength, but that's why I prefer McDonough for cheaper, or even Brady Shea at 3,600. What? What? Okay. In net, I don't really have interest in either of these goalies, Pavelec or Lehtinen. Pavlik's almost 8,000, which is pretty high, really high. That doesn't really interest me too much. Lehtinen at 7,100, I think, you know, if you're using stars, you can maybe have some exposure to Lehtinen. He is 7,100. It is cheap. The Rangers are very banged up. It does worry me using him because, you know, his nickname is letting him in for a reason. But I think at his price, if you're using the stars to free up some salary, I think you can take a flyer on him in GPP. By all means, not have a lot of exposure to him, but I think, you know, a little bit correlating with the stars could be in play here. Let's move on to the third game of the night. We have the Colorado Avalanche traveling to Pittsburgh to face the Penguins. It's going to be Tristan Jarry. Yeah, Penguins. Tristan Jarry against Jonathan Bernier. The Pens mixed up their lines a little bit today. It's yeah. You want the book? Oh, you want the ball? There, it's over there. You can get it now. Sorry. So the Penguins mixed up their lines a little bit. It's going to be Crosby, Gensel, and Sheary, and then Malkin, Kessel, and Rust, which is kind of annoying. But for me, you know, if I'm going to, again, Crosby, best player on the ice, that's fine. You can use him. Gensel with him is nice. But for me, you know, I'm going to use the mini of Malkin and Kessel if I'm going to use the Penguins tonight. But, you know me, I never use the Penguins. I just always fade them. They're always higher owned than they should be. I think they're going to be chalky. Probably Gensel. I would assume it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. But I would, if I had to take a guess, it would be Gensel. Here, it's over here. It's over there, bud. Okay. So again, you know, the top line is pretty decent, and I think they're in a really good spot tonight. It is in Pittsburgh, so I do want to avoid. So if like Crosby gets sent out against the McKinnon line, that even further boosts Malkin Kessel for me. Yeah, I think you can use Letang and Cash. Yeah, Hornquist did skate this morning. Sullivan usually speaks around like 5:15, so we should know for sure around then. Again, if Crosby is out against McKinnon, that line does a really good job limiting high danger scoring chances, with especially if Gabriel Landeskog on it. So that furthers my play for Malcolm Kessel mini. If you can fit Letang at 6,400 on the blue line, I'd do it. Otherwise, you know, I'd use Mata. On the Colorado side, I do like the top line, even if they are out against Crosby. Tristan Jarry is a rookie. The Penguins can be very shaky defensively. They're missing Justin Schultz. Hornquist, I guess, is questionable, but he's probably going to play. You want to come up? Okay. So really, for the Avalanche, it's top line or bust. McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog. It is a pretty good matchup. Penguins do go up a nice amount of goals. They're pretty poor defensively. There are only 17,000 the full stack. I think, for me personally, it's going to be Winnipeg. I never stat Pittsburgh. But I think, they're probably going to be around the same ownership tonight. Maybe Winnipeg even is more chalky, but that's that for that. So yeah, Colorado 1 is pretty decently priced. I like using them, especially in this spot. I like stacking against Pittsburgh. That's something I like to do. And I'm sure I'm not alone there. Tyson Barrie, 4,700's in play. You want to save the $100. Eric Johnson is also in play as well. It's really about it, until Samuel Girard proves he can get more ice time. It's really going to be Barrie or Johnson for me. In net, I don't know if I want to use Tristan Jarry at 8,000. It's a bit pricey. I know the Avalanche are basically just one line. It does worry me. He is coming off a pretty poor game. But, it could be a contrarian play, especially at his price. And, the Avs aren't a very good team. They're even worse on the road. So I guess you can make it a contrarian GPP option tonight. Bernier at 7,000 is scary. He's going to see a ton of shots, though. I'm probably going to fade him. But if you need the salary relief and you think he can sneak out a win while seeing 35, 40 shots, then go for it. But when I do my goalie rankings a little bit later, he's probably going to be pretty low on the list. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Florida Panthers traveling to Detroit to face Brock's Red Wings. Yeah, it's dark in there. Looks like Barkov is back. He skated this morning. Yeah. It's going to be James Reimer against more than likely Jimmy Howard. You never know with Blashill, though. The Lions, Blashill put Larkin back with Tatar and Mantha, which is nice. The top line is super cheap. Zetterberg, Nyquist, and Abdelkader. I don't know why he's on the top line. I don't know why Detroit coaches love Justin Abdelkader. I don't know why Tortorella loved Justin Abdelkader and had him on Team USA. He's like another Tom Wilson to me. I'm never going to play him. Surprisingly enough, this fourth line is really talented. They're really fast. It also is Larkin bobblehead night. If you want to go down narrative street, the fourth line does interest me a little bit tonight. Anthony Ciu, Tyler Bertuzzi, and Marty Ferk. That's super cheap as well. I don't know how much exposure you really want to a fourth line, but that's probably the most talented fourth line you're going to see ever. Maybe not ever, but Anthony Ciu also gets power play 2-time. But for me, the target in this game is going to be the second line for Detroit. They are going to avoid Barkov. They're going to get depth of the Panthers, and that excites me because James Reimer isn't very good. The depth of the Panthers isn't very good, and I really want to use Mantha and Larkin. If you want to add in Tomas Tatar, he's only 3,800. I think that's a much better play than playing Tom Wilson for 3,800. So I'm big on the second line for Detroit. I also do like the top line for Detroit tonight. They're really, really cheap. They're only 12,000. I'm not a huge fan of Abdelkader. I probably wouldn't use him, but I don't mind a Zetterberg, Nyquist mini with Mike Green. Again, that fourth line is interesting. Anthony Ciu does get power play 2-time. This is probably the first and the last time I'll ever even bring up a fourth line on the show. If you want to go with Zetterberg's overdue, it has been 22 games, as Brock has mentioned. This would be the time to do it. It is the Panthers. Mike Green is 3,800. Yes, buddy. Okay. Yeah, we're going to go shopping as soon as we're done. Mike Green's 3,800. I think you can use him there. If you want to use AARP Cronwall at 3,000, I think you can do that as well. On the Florida side, if Barkov is confirmed back, and I think he is, that top line is definitely in play for me. Barkov, Huberdeau, and Nick Bjugstad. I don't mind using Trocheck on the second line. I wish they put Verbata with him, but Jamie McGinn and Dennis Malgin is not very attractive, but Trocheck, does get the power play time. I think you can one-off him. Sevier is on the third line with Verbata. I mean, if you really want to dig deep, but it's really the top line for me, or a Trocheck bullet there. On the blue line, it's going to be Ekblad for me. I don't like using Yandel on the road. Ekblad is cheaper. Yandel's 5,000. Look at his home road splits. It's kind of scary, actually. Trocheck is the Red Wings killer. That is true. But we'll see. I think the Red Wings maybe win this game. You like that hard stand that I took? Maybe win this game. In net, I really like the Red Wings, so I'm not going to have any interest in Reimer at 7,400. I do understand if you are playing the Panthers that you want to play Reimer and GPPs, that's okay. Technically, they should beat the Red Wings, but you never know. If it is Jimmy Howard, I think I might have some interest in Jimmy Howard at 7,300. He is the better goalie in the Detroit system. Sound like a broken record every time I say that. Mrazek's more talented, but Jimmy Howard's the better system goalie. I think, using Howard in GPPs is okay. I think there's better options, but, Howard's not a bad play. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Vancouver Canucks traveling to... Yeah, Abdelkader's I don't know. He's 3,200, though. He does, get to the greasy areas on the ice to score goals, so does make sense if you are playing the top line. Vancouver Canucks traveling to Winnipeg to face the Jets. It's going to be Connor Hellebuck against Jacob Markstrom. Bo Horvat's out. Sven Barchi's out. Just came out that he fractured his hand. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. It's a tough break for him. The game's in Winnipeg, so this is a Winnipeg night, especially with how banged up the Canucks are. Scheifele, Wheeler, Connor, definitely my top target. Dustin Byfuglien's out, so Jacob Trouba moves up to the top power play unit. He's only 4,400. You can also use Tyler Myers and Josh Morrissey as well. Winnipeg one's definitely my preferred play. I don't mind Winnipeg too. I just don't really like Brian Little, but I think you can go with something. Stop whining. We're almost done. Okay. So, yeah, but Trouba took Byfuglien's spot on the top power play. So I don't mind Winnipeg 2 tonight. I prefer to use Winnipeg 1 at home. I don't care what the numbers say. I don't care what the possession numbers say. I don't care that they have better numbers on the road. Sometimes you got to look past the numbers. Sometimes you just got to go with the old gut. And for me, this is a Winnipeg 1 night. The second line, I don't mind. Yeah, Ken, I forget his last name. He works for the Sun Times, I think, out of Winnipeg, that beat writer. He tweeted out this morning that Jacob Trouba would be taking over Byfuglien's spot on the top power play. Weeby, if that's even right, yeah. Weeby! Yeah, he's the one who tweeted it out. Again, second line, not a huge fan of Brian Little, but I don't mind an Ehlers, Line A, Trouba mini. I think you can go there. But other than that, I'm really in. I'm in on the top line tonight. On the Vancouver side, I'll get to that at the end because I got to think about it. Avery, we're almost done. And then we'll go shopping. Avery really wants to go shopping for some crayons. Vancouver, the top line for Vancouver is super cheap. I don't know if I want to go there. It's kind of an ugly situation. I mean, Brock Besser is 6,000, but that line as a whole is only like 12,000 and change because Nick Dowd, and he's on with Nick Dowd and Marcus Granlund, which is not appealing at all. I don't know if you even can pay for Besser at 6,000. I mean, I guess you could. That's kind of pricey considering his line mates, so I'm probably going to full fade Vancouver tonight. Except for, if you want to use the defenseman, I think Del Zotto at 3,100's in play. Even Alex Edler at 4,100's in play. In net, Hellebuck, I think, is the cash game goalie tonight. He's 8,300. For me, that's too pricey in GPPs, but you definitely can make a case to use him there as well. I think he's the, one of or the best goalie play of the night tonight. I love Jacob Markstrom, but this is going to be a really long night for him. 7,200. I much prefer to use him at home. I much prefer to use him at home when the Vancouver Canucks are healthy. So, unfortunately, I'm probably going to fade him tonight. Maybe he proves me wrong, but I'm going to fade him. Let's move on to the last game of the night. We have the Carolina Hurricanes traveling to Anaheim to face the Ducks. Big news there is Getzlaf and Silfverberg back. It's going to be Johnny Gibson against either Cam Ham-Ward or Scott Darling. These guys coming back into the Ducks lineup really give them depth, really gives them good defensive lines. It's going to be Getzlaf, Perry, and Raquel, and Henrique, Cogliano, and Silfverberg. I would assume that's going to be the shutdown defensive line, but we'll see going forward. Carolina does have three pretty good lines, so you might not get definitive answers tonight in terms of who they're really going to use as the shutdown defenseman. Not a huge Ducks guy, but I do like that top line tonight. It's not one of my top plays. They'll probably be my second tier plays. I kind of want to wait and see if Getzlaf is actually healthy. He is 6,800, which is really pricey for a guy coming back. I don't mind Raquel tonight. I think you can use him like a Raquel Montour mini or Raquel. I would assume they're going to get lower ownership because, for me, I don't like stacking against Carolina. I'm not a huge fan of doing it because Carolina is a pretty sound defensive team. Be interesting. I think there's going to be ownership on the second line, Henrique, Silfverberg, and Cogliano. I don't know if I want to go there either. They're probably going to get a whole boatload of defensive zone starts tonight. This is a Ducks team that is going to be healthier. They're going to be better defensively. So for me, the person I'm targeting in this game is John Gibson. 7,700, I think he's in play in all formats. Carolina does put up a lot of shots. Gibson's going to see a volume. He actually has competent NHL skaters in front of him tonight, so I think he is definitely in play. He is going to be chalky, but I think you can do that for sure. On the blue line in that game, Cam Fowler, 4,600 is okay. I'd much prefer to use Montour or, Manson if you're punting. On the Carolina side, I think, if I'm going to use them, which I'm not really interested in because I'm really high on Gibson, I'm probably going to use, my preferred would probably be, they brought the TSA line back together, right? I don't mind them. They're definitely going to see the top defensive assignment, whoever that is, from the Ducks. For me, that third line is interesting to me. Derek Ryan, Jeff Skinner, Justin Williams. But again, I'm not overly thrilled about Carolina tonight. I tend to fade Carolina. Especially, they've had a long West Coast swing, and I think this might be their last game of the road trip, and they're getting ready to come home. Nice. But, Justin Falk is down to 4,200. That doesn't really interest me too much. Noah Hannafin would be the guy for me on the blue line. If it is Scott Darling, I think you can maybe take a GPP flyer, as, maybe there's chemistry issues with these guys coming back for the Ducks. If you want to, use that as a narrative. If it's Cam Ward, I really don't have too much interest because I don't think Cam Ward's any good. He's getting up there in age. So, yeah, that covers the 6 games. Any questions? What was that question? It was Carlson or Leddy as a one-off. I'd probably go Carlson. Favorite GPP goalie? Probably Gibson. Yeah, we're going to put your shoes on in a minute. And if you want to spend up, I think Hellebuck's in a really good spot as well. You want to walk in the snow? Yeah. Okay. Top 3 lines. Good punt forward for... Okay. Top 3 lines and good punt forward for cash. I think the top 3 lines for me would be Winnipeg, the second line for Detroit, and I think, throwing the way I play to the wind, I think, the Pittsburgh lines are up there. So Winnipeg, Detroit, and Pittsburgh. Punt forwards for cash, or was it for cash? Yeah, for cash. Let me see. Let's take a look. I think, well, how punty do you want to get here? Like under 4,500? Or you want someone like really, really cheap? Let's take a look anyway. Yeah, 4,300, that's not bad for Bustad. I think, Gustav Nyquist is decent as well at 4,200. Brian Rust is with Malkin, so I think you can make a case there. Really digging deep if you want the salary relief. God, I'd hate to say Abdelkader, but he's 3,200. He's on the top line, and I think he's on the power play. So if you really want to dig deep, be Abdelkader. Yeah, I think Gustav would be my top option, though, as well. Yeah, so he is on the power play. Hey. Pulak or Cronwall? I'm going to say Pulak. I really don't like the Red Wings defenseman, but I understand if you want to play Cronwall if you're playing Detroit. But Pulak has an absolute howitzer from the blue line. Such a heavy shot. Yeah. You bang your head there. Yeah, I know Cronwall's on the power play. I think you can... Like, I don't mind using him. He is only 3,000. Pulak is also on the power play, but not on the top power play unit, I don't think. So if you're going just strictly off power play time, I'd use Cronwall. Yeah. And the the Panthers aren't very good defensively. All right, guys, so that will wrap up today's 6-game slate. If I didn't get to your questions, you can shout me out on Twitter. You can sign up for our premium chat. We have a whole bunch of guys in there. Brock's in there. Adam and his line matching article is in there. We have a whole bunch of guys going back and forth. It's really good to bounce things off everybody, so you can sign up for that. So good luck tonight. We will see you back tomorrow for Light the Lamp. Avery says bye as he's running chairs all over the place over my wood floor. So we'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully you guys win some money tonight, and good luck. Bye, alligator.